Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. Praise be to God. It is good to be back on with you. And you survived the weekend, and we're getting back to our regular schedule this week. Can I just thank everybody who donated to our cause last week during our on-air fund drive? We are still asking for financial gifts to help us meet our fall goal and needs. So you can still contribute, but I am so grateful to everybody who did call and make those pledges online on YouTube, or maybe just responding to the letter you got in the mail from us. No matter how you gave, thank you for being on the team. It really does mean a lot to us. But today on the program, we have a lot to get to today. It's been a busy weekend, but we're going to be talking about what's going on in Gaza a little bit at 15 past the hour when Mike Koeniger, a friend of the show, is on. Because it seems that Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump had a little bit of a spat over the weekend. A little bit of, foul language spat, with each other on a phone call because they seem to be at disagreements a wee bit. We're going to get his take on that on the show. And then, of course, we're also going to ask him, since we have Koeniger on the team, about Pete Hegseth and his big speech he gave last week and his reaction to that. There's been a lot of pushback against Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, on, his comments against the standards of women and wokeness, ideology, progressivism. We're going to see what Koeniger has to say about all of that. Also on the team today, we're going to get the Scholastic Answers Christian Wagner podcast on the team to get his take on the upcoming first encyclical of His Holiness Pope Leo, Dilexi Te. It's actually the very last letter of Pope Francis. So what can we expect out of this? It's interesting because, according to the reports, Pope Leo had the document revised thoroughly, according to the National Catholic Register. It's on the pour, so what's the expectation? He's going to join us at 30 past the hour to have that conversation. So there's going to be a full lineup today, praise be to God. We'll put the links in the show notes for you at thestationofthecross.com. But also over the weekend, not only did, it was 67 people die in Gaza, there was also an act of reparation at the Catholic Identity Conference for the sins committed against Holy Mother Church and the Jubilee, the LGBTQ Rainbow Parade Jubilee at the Vatican, led by Bishop Athanasius Schneider. Bishop Strickland was there as well. So that happened over the weekend. Again, we're covering everything for you in the show notes at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Let's begin. Let's dive in. But do us a favor and share us with a friend. I'd be grateful. Let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your saint of the day.
Saint Bruno of Cologne. Pray for us. Bruno was born in Cologne around the year 1030 to one of the city's noble families. After becoming a priest, Bruno was placed in charge of education in the Diocese of Reims. Among his own students was the future Pope Blessed Urban II. Bruno eventually became chancellor of the diocese, but after an extended conflict with a corrupt bishop, Bruno resigned and pursued a life of solitude, assisted by 2 companions. At first they considered joining St. Robert and the future Cistercians, but instead Bruno and his companions, now 6 in total, were aided by the bishop St. Hugh of Grenoble, who had seen a vision of the men in the form of 7 stars, guiding him to the Chartreuse Mountains. There, Bruno and his companions founded the Carthusians, an order built on a unique combination of solitude and communal monastic life. The original monastery also produces the famed chartreuse liqueur. Bruno died in the year of our Lord 1101 in Italy, where he had spent several years advising his friend Pope Urban and his patron Count Roger I of Sicily. Though eventually approved for veneration, Bruno was never formally canonized, since the Carthusians are so strict in their humility that they do not pursue causes of sainthood for their members. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints and seasons. Saint Bruno, pray for us.
And now your headline news. Ground News reports layoffs will start if shutdown talks go nowhere, says the White House. The standoff centers on Democrats insisting on permanent premium tax credit expansion, while Republicans argue health care talks belong in December. The admin has reportedly warned of massive dismissals during the closure and said last week it could be threatening, while President Donald Trump called it an unprecedented opportunity to shrink federal agencies. The Associated Press reports 2 girls are found dead in New York after a fatal game of subway surfing. The 2 teenage girls' deaths contribute to a troubling statistic, with 5 fatalities connected to subway surfing in 2023, raising concerns among officials about the trend. Authorities are investigating the incident, including examining social media for related content amidst a history of fatalities linked to the dangerous practice. And Catholic Vote reports Trump shares Tel Aviv protest pressuring Netanyahu. President Donald Trump on Saturday twice posted images of protests in Tel Aviv, where tens of thousands of Israeli demonstrators rallied to pressure Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to thwart the Trump-backed peace deal that could lead to the return of hostages and end the bloodshed in Gaza. The post came amid reports of continued airstrikes in Gaza in the 2 days after Donald Trump called on Israel to stop the bombing immediately. More on that with Mike Koeniger coming up in just a few minutes. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up, tempting him and saying, Master, what must I do to possess eternal life? But he said to him, What is written in the law? How readest thou? He answering said, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with thy whole heart, and with thy whole soul, and with thy whole strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said to him, Thou hast answered right. This do, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? And Jesus answering said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among robbers, who also stripped him, and having wounded him, went away, leaving him half dead. And it chanced that a certain priest went down the same way, and seeing him, passed by. In like manner also a Levite, when he was near the place and saw him, passed by. But a certain Samaritan, being on his journey, came near, and seeing him, was moved with compassion. And going up to him, bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and setting him upon his own beast, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 pence, and gave it to the host, and said, Take care of him, and whatsoever thou shalt spend over and above, I at my return will repay thee. Which of these 3, in thy opinion, was neighbor to him that fell among the robbers? But he said to him, He that showed mercy to him. And Jesus said to him, Go, and do thou in like manner. The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. Cornelius a Lapide said, he thought, says Isidore, that the neighbor of a righteous man must be righteous, and the neighbor of an exalted man one of high degree. Show me someone so great as to be worthy to be compared with me. That's the attitude that Jesus is confronting. He reads the secrets of the heart of this man that would question Jesus in this way. He reads his heart, he reads his mind, and he responds to that which was in the secret depths of his heart, not what he said out loud. But the answer of Christ proved the contrary, as is clear from a consideration of the passage. For when this lawyer heard Christ commend the answer he had given, his purpose changed, and his aversion turned into love and reverence for the Lord. Hence, he earnestly asked, "Who is my neighbor?" that by loving him, he might fulfill the law. Hence, willing to justify himself means that he wished to show his love for that which was right, that he was anxious out of an awakened conscience to understand and learn the law of God in order that he might fulfill its precepts. Praise be to God. He goes on, well, therefore, might this lawyer ask, "Who is my neighbor?" I love all my countrymen who walk uprightly and regard them as my neighbors, but are there others whom I ought to love? Christ answers that all men are our neighbors, because they partake of the same life, the same grace, the same salvation through Christ, the same sacraments, the same vocation and calling, and are journeying with us to the same eternity of happiness. Every man, therefore, is our friend and our fellow. The word neighbor is suggestive of the tenderest affection and love, and that of brother for brother, or of a son for his father, for no one comes between them, inasmuch as there is no higher relationship. Let us journey with our neighbor, and let us care and be as charitable as possible to share Christ with our neighbor, because there is no greater love. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
Over the weekend, you might have seen that there was a bit of a riff between Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. Donald Trump trying to get Israel to stop bombing Gaza after Hamas signals that they're willing to negotiate now based on Trump's plan. Is Bibi just thinking Trump is, naive? Or is there something else there? We've asked our good friend of the show, Mike Koeniger, the brick wall, as we lovingly call him, from sunny Virginia, to be on the team today to talk about it. Good morning to you, Mike. Thanks for your time.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Happy Monday. What a blessed day. What a blessed day. Sun is shining and it's beautiful out. Craziness. And Joe, I hate to be an Ayatollah you so, but Ayatollah you so. This was not about anything, and I'm sorry, I'm going to offend some people, Joe. I'm warning you up front. I said this way back. This is about the extermination of the people in Gaza. And I'm sorry, this weekend, I see this as evidence that I told you so. This is what this is about. If Trump truly came back with a plan for peace that was negotiated with the Palestinian authorities, and it was rejected, basically they capitulated to everything Israel had asked for. If you read the article you sent me, and I know you did, they capitulated. They gave them everything. And they were told that wasn't enough. So, Joe, how else can we read this? If there was a peace deal made, Trump negotiated the peace deal, and we all know Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's not be silly about this. He truly does. But my point is why on earth would Bibi Netanyahu reject this unless he wants exactly what he wants? And the most disturbing thing you sent me, real quickly, the most disturbing thing you sent me in those articles was the pictures of Gaza. It is just white flat. Yeah,
it is. And there's some video over in Reuters. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes today as well. But Reuters has got this little clip there of what it looks like in Gaza right now. I think most of us don't actually know kind of what it looks like, but if you watch this video reel, it'll give you a pretty good idea of what life is like there. And it's pretty bad. It's really
it looks like Western Russia at the end of World War II.
It needs to come to an end, no matter
Yes.
what. And Israeli citizens are protesting right now. They want an end. They want their people back, rightly so. They want their hostages returned, rightly so. But they want an end to the war. They want an end to the bloodshed. And why would Bibi Netanyahu want that extended is a question on many people's minds. But let me just push back a wee bit here. And just let me read this first. It says, this was the exchange. They had a phone call over the weekend. And Bibi told Trump this is nothing to celebrate and that it doesn't mean anything. Trump fired back, I don't know why you're always so bleeping negative. Expletive negative. This is a win. Take it. So there's this little rift between the two. Is he being naive, or, as you pointed out, is there a bigger agenda at stake here? But it seems to me that proof is in the pudding. No matter what side you like here, Israel's side, Gaza's side, whatever side, proof is in the pudding. Return the hostages and let's get this going. Let's bring peace to the region. Because if the hostages are in fact returned, then where's the argument then to continue any more further military campaign in Israel? You see what I'm saying? Like it seems to me that it's time to put up or shut up. In fact, Donald Trump has warned. He has warned. I think it was a CNN article here. It says Trump says Hamas faces complete obliteration if it insists on staying in power. So is talk cheap? I guess is the next question on my mind.
Well, I think that they're faced with destruction of all of the Arabs that live in Gaza, and that is just sobering. And listen, I'm on the third side, and you are too. We're not on the side of Hamas or Israel. We're on the side of the Christians who are being obliterated and the innocents who are being obliterated. And so I'm not going to pick either of those two sides. That's just not a good pick. I'm struggling with the idea that Christians were told a week ago to get out now or face death death.
To be treated like terrorists. They were told they would be treated like terrorists if they stayed.
And this is going back to that nonsense of the gentleman, and I use that term incredibly loosely, who runs the Babylon Bee, who said, if you're still in Gaza and you're a Christian, you're a terrorist, which is just a false dichotomy. Sometimes people don't have the ability to move because they don't have the money. Sometimes they don't want to move because their family's been there for 6,000 years. There are lots of reasons to stay, but this entire weekend, this exchange this weekend, Joe, and thank you for sharing that with me, by the way. I was having a great weekend until I read it.
So I ruined your weekend? You're welcome. Anything I can do for you, just let me know.
No, my point is this is just
misery loves company, Mike.
This is going the way I said it would, and that makes me really sad because I told you if I was wrong, I'd be happy to be wrong. And it is going the way that I thought it would go. And it just makes me incredibly sad. And, I knew this was going to come. I didn't think it would happen this quickly. When Itzhak Rabin was assassinated, I knew that this was the turn Israel was going to take. And I can't see any out other than if the U.S. removes support for the Israeli government, they'll have to sue for peace. But they may have enough stockpile they don't have to now. They may. Yeah.
Well, I hope peace happens. I hope the hostages are returned. I hope Gaza doesn't become the next Riviera. I hope these people can go back to living a life, and I hope peace is the future of it all. But I mean, time will tell, right? Time will tell. We've seen this story repeat itself like a broken record now our entire lives. So I don't know how hopeful I am in all of this, but I do know that along with all those Israelis that are protesting right now, pressuring Bibi Netanyahu to put an end to this, I think we all want peace. I think we all want an end.
Of course we do.
Hey, let me switch topics on you. I saw this great speech last week. I don't know if you caught this.
I watched the live stream.
Pete Hegseth, fire and brimstone, scorched earth policy on the generals and admirals and command staff. But there's been a lot of pushback. I'm going to play a portion of this clip out of the Associated Press. Have a listen.
For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas.
The broader complication and the fear that I have in a moment like this is we are a nation that wants to fight our wars with all volunteers. And we should want every able-bodied American who is willing and wants to serve their country to raise their hand and do so. That can only happen if they feel like it's a place also worth working.
Based on my own time in the military, it was like, oh, here we go again.
Woof, there's been a lot of pushback on Pete Hegseth, to which the Marine Corps responded, oh, yes. So good. I'm having like cold sweat flashbacks right now.
I see you wore your red shirt in honor of the Marine Corps.
Look at this. It's just, makes you want to charge a hill. It's so good. So good. Praise be to God. Thank you for the Marine Corps, by the way. So what do you say? Pete Hegseth lights a fire, a gas fire in the room full of generals and admirals. You know, no more fat generals, no more fat admirals. I mean, the Coast Guard wasn't mentioned, but I mean, I have to believe they're being roped into all of this.
He's not their boss, but they're going to follow the military standard since they're part of Homeland Security. The Coast Guard, we have always followed the military standard. When the Navy shaved their beards 2 years later, the Coastie beards came off. And so it is what it is. But listen, I watched the live stream of his speech, and he didn't say anything I hadn't heard in the Chiefs mess for years. And for those who didn't serve, senior enlisted on ships, both the Navy and the Coast Guard have what they call the Chiefs mess. And so there's a lot of discussion that happens in the Chiefs mess. It's like the gunnies and the Marine Corps and of course the sergeant majors and those folks in the Army. And so there's always these discussions that happen. And Hegseth is a war fighter, and there's no doubt when I heard his speech, it was a little blue. I have to admit he dropped a few curse words. But was it hysterically funny to me was the media saying nobody applauded. None of those generals agreed. Big revelation, Joe, and you know this. You're not supposed to applaud when politicians speak in the military. You don't do that. You sit at attention and you listen.
Also, who cares? If they, this is the thing. This is the difference between people who served and been to boot camp and people who haven't. Your opinion and a nickel doesn't matter. Get over yourself. No, but Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump does not care whether the generals like it or not. Do your job. Be obedient and to the constitutional oath that you swore to the chain of command. Do your job. Like, they don't care whether or not they clap. I mean, it's besides the point. But people just think, well, my opinion should matter. No, nobody promised you a rose garden. Get over yourself. I mean, that's the military for you in a nutshell.
There's a scene in the amazing, wonderful, absolute greatest movie of all time, Heartbreak Ridge, when the general asked Clint Eastwood, or asked the guy next to Clint Eastwood, what'd you do before you did this? I was in supply. Were you good at it? Go back to it. Right. and this is the same thing. If you're sitting in that audience and Hegseth said this, retire if you don't like it. Leave. Right. Goodbye. Adios.
Well, thank you. On your way out. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you for your service. Joe, and by the way, I'm letting folks in on all the military slang in the insider group. I use the term pogues, which is an Army term. It means personnel other than grunts. I'm sure the pogues hated that speech. As we called them, or as we called them in the Coast Guard, the Sand Peeps. The Sand Peeps hated that speech because it's not political. First off, no one has a right to serve in the military, period. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be selected. You don't have a right. And if you don't want to comply with the standards of the military and maintain your weight, not get on the fat boy program, and yes, Joe, I'm using those military terms, and I'm sorry, but I'm just being real here because that's my roots. Done this since I was 17 years old. If you don't want to comply with the standard, get out. Thank you for your service. You did more than the average American. We appreciate you. We love you. Go back to your civilian world and recruit 3 of your friends to come to us. But today, 1 out of 4 recruits cannot pass the physical standards of the military. Any branch, whatever the most lax branch is, they cannot pass the physical standards. When I was a recruit in the 80s, it was 1 out of 25. 1 out of 25. Let's just be real.
Also talked about the 90s standard physical fitness,
which was low.
It's actually debatable whether or not the 90s standard in the Marine Corps is harder than the current standard. When I was I joined in 91. I had to do 20 pull-ups, 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes and a 3-mile run. And I forget the time. I did it pretty fast for a fat guy. But I think I did mine in 15 minutes, if I remember correctly.
I would suspect it was roughly around 22, 23 minutes, Joe.
I think 18 minutes was like the cutoff. You had to do it within 18 minutes, if I remember correctly. But today, they have, I don't know exactly what the standard is today, but they also do a combat fitness thing today that seems pretty hard. So I'm not sure which is the greatest standard, but I do know this, that there's a lot of people pushing back today because they don't like it, they don't want it. They want that progressive woke ideology, and it seems like there's a new sheriff in town for at least another 3 years, and then who knows what will happen next. But I just thought it was hilarious more than anything.
I did too. Yeah, it was funny. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
All right. Koeniger, we'll see you at the top of the hour for the after show. We're still playing ACT Bingo with our insiders on the live video streams. No live radio show in the second hour today, but we will be on the live video stream, so get your ACT Bingo cards out. Christian Wagner is up next. Let's talk about Pope Leo's first encyclical letter, what to expect. That in 2 minutes. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Here are your headline news. Ground News reports shooting in Montgomery, Alabama leaves 14 injured and 2 dead. Rival gunmen shot at each other in a crowded nightlife district in Alabama's capital, resulting in 2 fatalities and 12 injuries, according to the Montgomery police chief. 3 of the individuals sustained life-threatening injuries, and the shooting occurred shortly after a football game between Tuskegee U and Morehouse College. And investigators are gathering evidence and interviewing potential suspects as no charges have been filed. The Globe and Mail reports Canadians detained in Israel over Gaza-bound flotilla. On October the 5th, 2 Canadian citizens were detained in Israel after forces intercepted a flotilla headed to Gaza. The global Samud flotilla organized to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. An activist said multiple boats were intercepted with communications jammed and water cannons used, while the Israel Foreign Ministry said 137 more provocateurs of the Hamas Samud flotilla were deported to Turkey. The intercepted flotilla involved more than 40 civilian vessels and about 500 parliamentarians, lawyers, and activists, with some Canadians still trying to reach Gaza via the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. And Catholic Vote reports man arrested at D.C. Cathedral with Molotov cocktail. A New Jersey man was arrested early Sunday on the steps of St. Matthew's Cathedral in northwest Washington, D.C., hours before the city's annual Red Mass. The suspect was charged with unlawful entry, threats to kidnap or injure a person, and possession of a Molotov cocktail. The Red Mass marks the beginning of the Supreme Court's judicial year. And those are your headline news. Praise be to God in all things. We saw just this at the end of last week that His Holiness has signed Dilexi Te, his first papal encyclical, which turns out to be one of the suspended documents of Pope Francis. And we're all very curious on what is to be expected this week. It comes out on the 9th, in just a few days from now, on the feast, I guess, of St. John Henry Newman. And here to talk about that from Scholastic Answers is Christian Wagner and the Christian Wagner podcast. I'll put links to both his website and his podcast in our show notes today. Christian, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Praise be to God. I'm alive, and that counts. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Coming off a good weekend, nice weekend to rest, and I'm very excited to see what Pope Leo has to offer for us. Amen.
It's an interesting question because it's really Francis's document. However, the National Catholic Register reports that it was thoroughly revised is the actual words, thoroughly revised. So what does that mean? I think a lot of us, if we're being honest and sincere, we're saying we're cringing that he's publishing Francis's document. We all cringe at that. At least I do. But he revised it. So does this give me hope? What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's not exactly unusual when you have a sudden death or resignation of a pope for some of the first documents of the next pope to be revisions or taking material from a document that was left over. This is actually something that Francis did with a document from Pope Benedict XVI, which is why Pope Francis's first encyclical letter came out unusually early. Ordinarily, it takes sometimes up to a year for a pope to come out with their first encyclical letter. And just a brief correction, actually, and this may sound pedantic, and in some way it is, but Dilexi Te is that will not be an encyclical letter. It's actually going to be an apostolic exhortation. And those are slightly different. An encyclical letter has more sort of teaching force to it. It's somewhat meant to be a document studied for generations and generations in theological schools, whereas an apostolic exhortation is usually like an extended sermon. It's something more practical in nature. So I'm not as worried because it seems to, at least for me, when I read Francis's stuff on poverty and the little that Leo has on poverty and the poor, most of the sort of practical exhortation, that stuff doesn't really come with much baggage. I mean, that seems like a very perpetual topic that right and left within the church can have a great degree of agreement on.
Okay. Well, so you don't at this point suspect there's going to be any major curveballs. It's going to be very straightforward, but it's going to be on the poor. So a lot of people are thinking it's going to be the poor mixed in with immigration. Do you see that coming?
It's possible that he's going to mention things about immigration. And as a Catholic of a more right-wing persuasion myself, I am a bit worried about how that could shape the common views around Catholic social teaching touching the issue of immigration. So I think that you're perfectly within the degrees of expectable opinion to think that something like that might come, and we might have to have deeper discussions about these sorts of issues. But generally, that wouldn't be something of a new development. That's something that has been quite perpetual in a number of pontificates. Some would say going back actually to Venerable Pius XII, those sorts of comments and that sort of narrative around immigration and migrants.
The National Catholic Register's article on this indicated when it talked about the thorough revision, when it used that phrase, thorough revision, it indicated that Cardinal Fernandez was making routine trips back and forth between his office and Leo's. You know, I guess that's part of that dialogue. Can you give us some sense of like what is the workflow like? I'm very curious. What is the workflow like when a pope wants to write these either apostolic exhortations, encyclicals? How much of this is ghostwriters? How much of this belongs to whoever's running the doctrine office at the time? How much of it is personal meditation and inspiration?
Well, it's unfortunately, we are not really aware because it differs pope by pope, because you'll have a pope like Benedict XVI. He was legendary for not only writing, but in some cases translating into other languages his own documents, because he was famous for being quite the multilinguist, knowing upwards, I believe, of 12 different languages. And he was quite suspicious of the different bishops' conferences and other individuals who might take away from his intended sense in his different documents. So with major documents, Benedict XVI was extremely, extremely involved. Then you can look at somebody like St. John Paul II. St. John Paul II, as much as we love St. John Paul II, obviously, he was not the most involved writer. In fact, there are certain reports that I've read, it might be true, might be false, but these reports said that sometimes he would kind of just have somebody else write it and then read it over, like it, maybe give a few edits and then rubber stamp it. So it could be anything from completely their own to, basically just rubber stamped. Actually, there were reports when he went to, when Leo XIV went to his little vacation in Castel Gandolfo, that actually Leo ends up being more on that Benedict XVI side with being very involved. So I would guess that he wants to be more involved, but this might be a special case because he wants to continue on a little bit of a linking document with the Francis pontificate, which, as I mentioned earlier, is quite ordinary for a pope in a situation of a sudden death or resignation. So I would expect that in the future we'll get more Leo, but now I would guess that this is going to be, as you said, highly revised, but still very Francis-like.
Is there anything in this document that you hope will be in this document? Is there anything that you would really hope and pray that Leo addresses, touches upon, anything like that?
Well, something that Leo's been very careful about, and this is something that I've mentioned over and over again, a shameless plug, my series going over basically all the documents of the Leo pontificate so far, addresses, homilies, etc. Something that he's mentioned over and over again when he talks about the poor, and this is something that kind of pours hot coals on the heads of a lot of liberals, is he says that actually it's not enough just for us to give them food and clothing. It's not enough for us to give them material things. Really, our work with the poor is for an evangelistic purpose. What we need to do is we need to not only give material bread, but the bread of the word. We need to do this not only for a sense of, interior longing towards meeting their needs. We actually need to do this out of supernatural charity. So I really hope that what Pope Leo does in this document is he really shows the Christological aspects. He shows the primacy of the virtue of charity. It would be nice to see him expand a little bit upon how there is a role of the virtue of justice as well when it comes to the feeding and clothing of the poor. But I really hope he doesn't make this very sappy in nature, but actually makes this a sort of meaty theological reflection, taking what he has said time and time again about the primacy of preaching Christ to the poor in feeding and clothing them, rather than trying to make this humanitarian, simply humanitarian, and try to link arms with a lot of the more liberal wing who wants to take this away.
Do you think he will wade in to blur the lines between, like, for instance, the death penalty debate? The recent popes really speaking out against the death penalty, and yet we have our history and tradition of Thomas Aquinas himself preaching on the justice of the state, having that, as one of their tools for protecting its citizens, for instance. There's prudential judgment in some of this stuff. Do you think he'll wade into, like under Francis, we saw a lot of blurring, graying the lines of talking about these issues, and really what we're talking about is prudential judgment. When and where to implement. How exactly do we deal with illegal immigration, for an example? Do you think he will be clear when it comes to prudential judgments versus principled issues, or are we going to continue to see blurred lines?
I really do hope, and that this is, I believe myself, this is the mark of a good pontificate, when you have a pope who is able to very clearly speak when he is giving maybe his own read of a situation or his own opinion on how these principles get applied versus just giving the principles themselves. And I think really this has been a problem that goes much farther back than Pope Francis, even some would say into the pontificate of like Blessed Pius IX. Or some would say even further into the area of like Pius VII in the early 19th century, of this blurring the lines between giving matters of principle versus adding a little bit more of your own opinion into something, or your own read of a situation into something. So Leo XIV, we haven't really seen much of him. I've read all of his addresses and homilies and all of those things. But it's hard from those sorts of documents to get this. I think the most significant was that interview, a very unfortunate interview that I think confused it confused a lot of people. It definitely gave energy to the wrong types of people and deflated the wrong types of people. So we don't really know yet, but I think that interview is not a good omen, if I had to be perfectly honest with myself. Although I'm saying this as somebody who appreciates very deeply 99% of what Leo says, and I really do love a lot of the different points he brings up, especially on the issue of poverty. I think he's been very clear to deflate a lot of the purely humanitarian, naturalistic tendencies that can often come with people very interested in humanitarian issues.
The interview you're referring to is the one he gave. We talked about it a lot last week, actually. Where he was caught and asked outside of Castel Gandolfo about the Supich Durbin issue, and he weighs in with, he doesn't say the words, of course, seamless garment, but essentially he's describing the seamless garment theory. And many Catholics, myself included in that list, were very troubled by that for a number of reasons. And so I want to ask a clarifying question before we go to break here. You're saying, though, that although that was a troubling interview, on the whole, in his writing, in his letters, in his homilies, you don't see as many issues?
No, he's very clear, actually. When he speaks on political issues quite frequently, this is something actually which is quite notable, is how much he speaks on political issues of Catholic social teaching. He frequently gives different addresses to jurists, to politicians, to political groups of all sorts. And he's extremely clear about certain principles of Catholic social teaching and the complete necessity of divine revelation, the necessity of the church, the necessity of keeping the Catholic identity when it comes to political thought. And I found a lot of that very helpful. But unfortunately, on this issue, he doesn't have that same sort of clarity.
Yeah, for sure. Can I just give a special shout out to our sponsor, iCatholicMobile.com, a wireless phone service that provides 5G, unlimited data, and fantastic service. And good friend of the show. We are so grateful for the support we get, the financial contributions we get from their customers. iCatholicMobile.com. You can find more information about them at iCatholicMobile.com. Make sure to tell them that we sent you. Praise be to God. I also, hey, listen, we are under 5 days in Jake's bachelorhood. He's getting married this week. Please keep Jake and Celine in your prayers. He's going to be off on Friday preparing to get married. Praise be to God. And I'm going to be walking the Three Hearts Pilgrimage. So we're going to have an interesting show lined up for you with Joshua Charles on Friday. But do pray for Celine and Jacob all week long. If you'd be so kind to do so, we'd be grateful to you. But we're having a conversation with the Scholastic Answers podcast. Christian Wagner is on the team talking about Pope Leo's upcoming Dilexi Te document, apostolic exhortation. Christian, welcome back. One of the questions in my mind is going to be how wordy is all this going to be? I gotta, maybe it's because I'm a knuckle dragger. I tire of the tomes, the endless, like under Francis, some of these documents were so massive. Yeah. I mean, I long for the days of simplistic and straightforward and clear thinking of pontificates and, times gone by, I suppose. Maybe it's just my rosy lenses. But what say you? What do you think it's going to be? How long is this document? Should we expect it?
Well, this is actually an interesting development in papal history, and we see something which happens similarly in ecumenical councils. I'm sure if you've read the Council of Trent or the First Vatican Council and compare that to the documents of Vatican II, you see that Vatican II, they have these lengthy documents. Then you look back at Vatican I, and it seems very succinct. You have the canons, you have the anathemas. It's very nice and put together. Well, that actually originally sort of came from an analogous development in papal teaching. It was papal teaching that changed first in the sort of style and genre, and then it spilled over into ecumenical councils. So originally, when it came to papal teaching, it was very short and succinct. If you read something from like Innocent III or Pius V, it was very short and succinct, got to the point, cut to the chase, and then condemned all the propositions, and we went home. But around the time of the early 19th century, around the time of the pontificate of Gregory the 16th and Leo the 12th, I want to say, that changed to where all of these encyclicals got longer and longer and longer, and everything changed with Leo the 13th. But when it comes to the length of this document from Leo the 14th, we do have a picture from the Vatican press office of like the physical document. Like if you look, you can kind of see the last page, what's on there in Latin. I haven't translated it myself or read it, but you could kind of see like a part of a sentence. But it doesn't look too lengthy. It's not like a massive book with like you would see with some of Francis' apostolic exhortations. So it actually doesn't look like it's going to be a super long document. I'm going to, once it comes out on Thursday, shameless plug, I'm going to get, right on a live stream, I'm going to read through it and give my initial thoughts. And then later I'm going to do something a little bit more formal. But it doesn't seem like it's going to take hours and hours and hours to read. It looks like something a little bit on the shorter end.
Now, one of the things that I think is going to be, myself included, I'm throwing myself into the same category. We're going to read this document and we're going to project through the rest of his pontificate of what we can expect next. How fair do you think that will be?
I don't think that's fair. I think and this is sort of a genre thing, which is why it may seem pedantic, but it is important to distinguish between the encyclical and the apostolic exhortation. Because basically what we see when it comes to the first encyclical of the Pope is that is usually like the Magna Carta. This was actually especially the case with Leo the 13th. Leo the 13th He had his first encyclical Against Modern Errors, and basically all of his future encyclicals were like commentaries on section by section by section. He'll go through and give one against socialism. He'd go and give one against the unrestrained capitalism in Rerum Novarum, famously. He would go through and on each one of these topics, on education, on church and state, he would go through and expand and comment on each one of these. And that's actually something very, very common, something Benedict XVI did in his encyclical on love. That's something that St. John Paul II did. Is go through and expand and give a commentary on your first encyclical. But an apostolic exhortation is slightly different. That's kind of usually speaking more practically to a certain problem right before our eyes. And it doesn't have that same immortal character that an encyclical is supposed to have. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to say he's just going to comment on all these different sections in his first apostolic exhortation. Francis kind of did that, actually, which is weird. But usually a pope will wait for his first encyclical to do something like that. And to add a sort of detail to this, Leo XIV is a lot more traditional, at least in style. You may say in substance he's not more traditional, but in style he definitely is. He follows the sort of traditional ways in which popes act. We see this in a number of different instances that I could bring up. So it is likely that when we look at what a Leo XIII is doing, or what a Pius XII is doing, or even what a John XXIII or Paul VI is doing, we can expect something similar as to style, at least, with Leo XIV.
And why on John Henry Newman's feast day?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure about this. I actually thought that it was supposed to be on St. Francis of Assisi's feast day originally, but yeah, I'm just not sure why this moved. Weirder things have happened in the history of papal sort of papal history. I mean, it is perfectly possible that Dilexi is actually supposed to be on a slightly different topic or a more broad topic, and all of the news reports we've heard from the talking heads have actually been slightly off. But no, I'm not sure why it's on the feast day of St. John Henry Newman. It could be for a multitude of different reasons.
He's elevating him to Doctor of the Church. Can I get your comment on that? We have just about 3 minutes left in this segment, but might as well talk about that for a second, since it's going to be released on his feast day. Everybody's pointing to his development of doctrine, and some are using it as their get-out-of-jail-free card to justify whatever, but some of us also push back and say John Henry Newman had an understanding of development, being slightly more critical because of his own background in Anglicanism. What say you?
Yeah, so I actually have a background in Anglicanism. I was an Anglican seminarian before I converted, and funnily enough, I just did a live stream on Friday about the issue of development of doctrine. So when it comes to the sort of adoration of St. John Henry Newman, there's actually a weird history about this. Going back to the modernist crisis, a lot of the modernists claimed St. John Henry Newman for themselves, and Orthodox Catholic theologians, including, funnily enough, St. Pius X, stepped into the ring on this controversy and defended Newman and said there is nothing in Newman against Catholic doctrine or even sort of smelling of the modernists. There's nothing which is even proximate to modernism in St. John Henry Newman's works. So the reason why he's elevated to being a doctor of the church, that's an interesting question. I could give a number of different answers on that. Some may say if somebody's a little bit more critical or a little bit more skeptical, they could say this is a push by people with more liberal leanings, and they want to play off of a image in especially American trad Catholicism that John Henry Newman is a little bit more of a liberal figure, which is also something that's in liberal circles as well, that this myth gets perpetuated. So if you were a little bit more skeptical, you may say, oh, this is actually a push towards the liberals. But if you were a little bit more, I would say even keel about it and more open-minded, I would say that, and a little bit less skeptical, a little bit less pessimistic, you may say that this is actually just a good push. It's just a good decision to make a famous convert who has given so much to modern theology, to make him a doctor of the church.
Amen.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. Happy Monday. It feels good to say that after last week of all the live radio. Welcome back to the after show. It's nice. I like the after show.
Yeah. It's good to be back in live video stream so I don't have to worry about the pressure of a radio clock. So good. You don't know. All you podcasters, you have no idea how good you got it.
Seriously.
You don't have to stress about anything.
Lazy.
Just turn your mics on to talk for 4 hours, just wandering through one topic after another.
In the sun.
Jake, you are T-minus 5 days, 6 days, brother.
Yeah.
The end of your bachelorhood. Are you ready? Like, where are you emotionally right now?
Pretty excited.
Put
and
yourself on
confident
screen.
for the most part. Hang on a second. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to reset from last week. Everything's all over the place. Where am I?
Koeniger's back. Praise be to God.
I'm almost squished.
Big mistake. Let me come back.
No, you've got a new mic. We got to show it off. It sounds great.
Does he? What did you buy? What'd you get?
I actually went all in on this Elgato company because that's everything else I have is Elgato. So
it's pretty slick product, the Elgato stuff.
They do. They want a pretty penny for them, but I had to retire the old guy here because I thought the sound was terrible. So
I was actually looking at speaking of Elgato, I was looking at their teleprompter. They've got a very slick teleprompter that makes it's tempting me to try. I tried it once before. I have a teleprompter. I tried it. It failed miserably because I couldn't control the speed very well. But Elgato makes a teleprompter that works with its panel. I'd have to get a new panel so that I have the little dial button so I could reach over and dial in the speed of it. And then who knows? Maybe I could look at the camera and read the news.
I have the setup, Joe. When I guest host for you, I use the teleprompter to read the news. And it's right there. So I'm looking right at it. So when you're using the teleprompter, you're looking straight in the camera. And the other thing I'll do when I'm guest hosting for you is I'll put the window up there so I'm looking at the guest right in their eyes. So it's a pretty cool system, and it'll work with that Elgato camera that you have.
Yeah. Well, I don't have an Elgato camera. I don't own
that's
one of
right.
those.
That's right. I promised you one, and then we spent the money on something else.
We did. That's right. I'm in the Lumix universe when it comes to cameras. All right. We got Jake back on the screen. Jake, you were saying you are emotionally, I want to know where you're at right now with just so few days left of your bachelorhood.
Excited and feeling pretty confident.
Excited and feeling very confident.
Yeah. I've had great.
Trying to read between the lines on that.
I've had great prep from our priest. We both have. We did wedding prep with our priest, and he's fantastic. And I've had a lot of good examples of not just good relationships, but good relationships enduring through difficulties. In my family, she's had the same with her family. She's got a very great, solid family. So I love my in-laws, my future in-laws.
Praise be to God.
So most of the stress has been figuring out the wedding details, figuring out the honeymoon details. I kind of hate traveling for the most part, even though I love other places. I hate the whole traveling aspect. So
really?
That I've almost been more stressed about the honeymoon details than about the wedding details, because all the wedding details are things she's been worrying about. Are all the details sorted, or is there still stuff to sort? It's mostly been little things. Oh, there's also the immigration thing. That's been a whole slog of a process. That's almost complete, is filing for that, for her to be residing full time. They kind of need like extra proof, so we have to of the whole wedding thing, because we're technically legally married in the state of New York already, but they want like extra proof that this isn't a sham marriage just to get her in the country. So we have to send in like the Catholic documentation stuff as well.
I was going to say, like, what proof do you have to actually like provide that would satisfy that?
They have a lot of different options, but affidavits, signatures from people saying, yeah, this is legit. That should be enough. So so it's all the stress has been over details and stuff like that.
She's from Canada. It's not like she's from Uruguay or
Hey, you never know. You never know. I mean, it is
like
Canada,
Qatar. I mean. So. I don't even know. Like,
you never know who's sneaking over that border.
It's Canada. It's the 51st state. What are we even talking about here, people?
That would make the whole process a lot easier.
I guess.
But we kind of ran out of the clock on that. Trump hasn't pulled the trigger on that yet. So, in any case, so it's been mostly over the details.
Are you going to come back from your honeymoon, and she gets to come to America, or are you guys going to have to hang out in Canada?
No. So ideally, they'll approve it pretty quick as soon as we send it in. We're going to get that sent in, the final stuff sent in right after the wedding. and then we'll be out of the country for 2.5 weeks. So hopefully by the time we get back, it's approved. If not, she's got still several visiting days left, and then that resets at the start of the year anyway. So if there is a long process, it's not long that we'd have to deal with that before, they eventually get it approved. But hopefully it's pretty quick because, again, this happens all the time around this area, too, of, people meeting across the border and getting married. Because there's a lot of Buffalonians that go up to Canada to visit and go to their cottages and stuff. Rick Paolini, his family goes up like every weekend in the summer. And there are a lot of Canadians who come down to visit, for shopping, for Bills games.
That's why I'm surprised it's this complicated.
The complication is just the process for anyone who's doing this process. Like it's complicated for everyone. You have to just check all of these boxes. You have to upload the 2x2 photo, a scan of a 2x2 ID photo, and then just
Is Celine with her Canadian passport, driver's license, or what have you? If she wanted to visit America, she wouldn't have an issue doing it.
No, she's in the country right now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not about visiting. It's not about visiting. It's about residence.
It's not a matter of you two getting to be together. It's just a matter of formalizing it.
It's about allowing her to live here.
Right, and that way she gets an American passport, etc. Got it.
Well,
okay.
she has to. She can't. It takes a long time to become a citizen.
Oh, that's right.
It takes years. It takes years to become a citizen.
4 years.
This is just about allowing her to permanently reside in the States as my wife.
Getting a green card, Joe, is not an easy process, and that's what you're talking about. Yeah. So this is tough.
This is the first section is okay. She's a direct family member now because we're married, and this is just about asking for proof of it. That we're not faking this. We're married, and I want her to come live with me in the United States. And that process should be pretty smooth, considering that we're normal people. We've got clean background checks. We've got all this stuff. Yeah, quote unquote. They haven't seen me on this show, so. That process should be pretty straightforward. I have a very good friend who works at the border. He's kind of helped giving us some great advice on this. That first step of just having her be able to live here as my wife should be fine. All the other stuff then takes further years of, getting her all the other
all right.
privileges. So it's a long process, and there's a lot of stages.
Man, big day coming.
But so most of the stress has been about stuff like that. But the as far as marriage itself, I feel well prepared and confident.
Praise God. Praise God.
I'm very trusting
Damon
in the Lord.
just answered the question I was going to ask you, Jake, and that is, he says it's 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen to become a citizen, and 5 if not. So
there we go.
I think what Jake's running into is the fact that people scam the system. It apparently was much easier back when my mother immigrated here than it is now, because so many people have since scammed, including sitting Congress people, but we won't go there, right?
So. They only married their brother. What is your problem with that? Like, come on, man.
I didn't say anything.
That would have made
very normal behavior in Somalia. I don't know why you're so. Come on, Mike. Totally normal for a congressperson to marry their brother just to get them to become American citizens.
Hey, it is something, it's and by the way, right? Canada wants your taxes if you work up there. So, which I found New York. Out.
They're two peas in a pod. I have to pay.
Don't get me started on New York.
I don't live there.
No, she's compared to Canada, she's moving to a true land of liberty here in the People's Republic of New York. So that should scare you.
When you posted a picture of shooting in your backyard, I'm like, does New York know you do that? I'm like, what? That's crazy. I can't believe they allow that there.
You'd be surprised what you can get away with in upstate and central and western New York.
I don't even think it's. I think it's most of everything outside of Ithaca, Syracuse, and the city, and New York City, and a couple other places.
New York, you could have been so great, New York. Why do you got to ruin it?
It is a great state.
New York will rise again.
No, it won't. Let's just be honest. It's done. Once
we throw off the yoke of New York,
you'll
City,
never do it.
Fine.
You and California both. You talk a good game, but it never happens.
That's all right. It'll happen.
There's so many great people. I was telling my kids the other day, I'm like, there's so many great people in California. California's such a beautiful state, such a lovely place. When you visit places like New York and California, you're like, this is nice. Like, why do I'm like, well, oh yeah, taxes, progressive, crazy nonsense. And like, oh yeah, it's ruined the whole.
There's a lot of great people in Canada. When we went out and visited Calgary,
I'm sure,
and some of the folks we talked to, they even had accents straight out of the sticks here in New York State. Like, it's just they're good people out there, but they're being completely overtaken and invaded.
My caribou to the sugar shack.
It's great.
Making some maple syrup, so
Take off. You never did.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So keep Celine and Jake in your prayers this week. And if you haven't contributed to their cause, can I just encourage you to do so? We're putting a link in the show notes for Celine and Jacob. Help them get their marriage started right. Praise be to God. That'd be wonderful if you could.
Paul asked the right question because he knows I go to a former Italian parish. He says, "Why didn't you just tell them to cooperate or you're going to call Paulie?" I should have.
I'm going to make you an offer you cannot refuse. You know what I'm saying? Hey, good morning to you, low key Jimmy Z. Good morning,
Darren
Harmony
Sutton,
Gordon.
who are you calling a hoser? Take off, you hoser.
Hoser. Oh yeah, Hoser's
Take off.
Indiana. The Hoser,
that's the Hoosiers.
No, those are Hoosiers.
Sorry, not Hosers.
No, Hoser is Ontario. Hoser is Strange Brew for sure.
Strange Brew.
That's Bob and Doug McKenzie right there.
MB Slick, good morning to you. Says, I remember when the drinking age was 18 in New York, and you could have an open alcohol in your car as long as the driver wasn't drinking. That's crazy talk, man, right there. Helen Grace, good morning to you. Janice Gregory, female Casey Royals fan from Nebraska. Good morning to you. Praise be to God. Glad you're on the team today. Joey Carter, good morning to you. I saw Joey Carter's like something about I need to revisit that 3-mile run. Don't get old, Joey. That's my answer to you. Is don't get old, because I was overweight when I went to boot camp. And I could still do 3 miles in 15 minutes. It blew everybody's mind away. They couldn't understand how I was able to do that. I had to wear big stripes on all my shirts. I was the fat private, kind of like in Full Metal Jacket with the donut in the Foot Locker. Oh man, that was great. That was so great. I tried to watch a little bit of Jarhead. I watched a clip from Jarhead yesterday after watching the Marines respond to Pete Hegseth by doing push-ups. I'm like, man. And then I watched this little clip from Jarhead, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I hated about the Marine Corps. And I should.
There's a new Marine Corps movie coming out called Boots.
Oh, man.
So,
I gotta tell you, I don't know. There is a certain. I mean, I went to Navy boot camp. I went to Air Force and Marine Corps. Navy and Air Force when I was in high school. I was a Naval Sea Cadet, and I did 2 weeks up in Great Lakes. And then as a ROTC kid, I went to Lackland Air Force Base for Air Force training. And was the real deal. And having done 3 months in the boot camp, I got to tell you, the Navy was surprisingly harder than I expected. I mean, the physical calisthenics alone was incredibly challenging, and I never expected that out of the Navy. And I've heard that Coast Guard is worse.
It's Coast. What happened is, and actually, I know the gentleman who was behind the change in Coast Guard basic training was a guy named Skip Bowen. He's the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard a few ago. And he went out and ran with a bunch of guys who had just come out of basic, and they couldn't keep up with the old Master Chief. And he was stunned. Now let's be fair, man. Skip was a machine, but anyway, so he and a bunch of chiefs went to the Marine Corps boot camp, saw the whole Crucible thing that they've introduced, and basically they said, if we pull all the riflery out, how long will it be? And without the riflery, it got down to 8 or 9 weeks because I guess so much time is spent in the range in the Marine Corps. Whereas
we do a whole month.
We spent a lot of time.
When I was there, we would do first month is San Diego in the fishbowl where those Marines were doing push-ups. That looked like San Diego to me, MCRD San Diego. We call that the fishbowl. And then second month was at Pendleton.
Right.
And that is where the hell starts, because there's nobody watching over you. You're not in the fishbowl anymore. So the drill instructors get away with literal murder for a whole month. And you're doing range, you're doing field training, hike, you're doing the humps, the bivouacking and all of that stuff. But that was the funnest part, even though it was the most hell. of all three phases, and then you do third phase back down at San Diego. At least that's
so. Coast Guard basic training is Marine Corps basic training without the riflery, including they withhold your anchor. They do all they basically took it wholesale out of the Marine Corps. And by the way, if you're going to build a basic training program, which service do you really want to model it after? So I have no problem giving the Marines credit for building a system that works.
That I almost played because there was a lot of videos of people in uniform complaining about Pete Hegseth and all this nonsense. And then I saw this one video of these two Marines, and one of them is on a pull-up bar, and he's just hanging there talking, about everybody complaining. Well, you got your Burger King on base, and maybe y'all just should park further away and get your steps in. Maybe you should try to eat less and train more. And he's just doing like slow dead hang pull-ups. Hanging for a while, do it, just like he goes, but we're in the Marine Corps. We don't complain. We're not complaining online. No, because we are the standard. I was like, oh, it's so good, but he curses, so I didn't want to play it. But I almost
the only complaint I would have with Hegseth's speech is I wish he'd said, instead of the male standard, I wish he would have said the most strenuous standard. Because it really doesn't matter what
I was upset that he was doing. I'm like, no, go for male. That's cool. Go for. I would not allow any of these women, no matter how physically fit they were. No GI Janes in the Navy SEALs. Thank you, but no, thank you. I mean,
that's not going to happen anyway, because most men can't qualify to be Navy SEAls. Let's be real here. It's an incredibly. It's the same thing with Force Recon or pararescue or any of the elite rescue swimmers.
Does the Coast Guard have any special forces?
The ones who could do the Navy SEAL training, and there have been Coasties who successfully completed Navy SEAL training, by the way. But the closest that the Coast Guard has is the rescue swimmer. Those folks are no joke. And they have always had a singular standard because it's such a life or death deal. And women, a small handful of women have gotten through the standard. There's no doubt. And in that case, I have no problem with it. I think my problem with Navy SEALs or any of the others is those are military combat units. And you and I agree that women are way too important to have them in military combat.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
No, we should not. It's not good for the future of our nation to have women in combat. So it's
not. Yeah, it's not good for society. They need to be protected. They're far too valuable to be thrown away. So
men are disposable. We're essentially disposable.
100%.
Speak for yourself.
Yep. Especially Jake. Especially Jake.
Most I'm one of a kind.
One of a kind. Yeah, that's true. Hey, James.
Oh yeah, you're one
for better or worse.
Good morning to you from sunny Romania. Damon from the tundra of North Texas. Praise be to God. And good morning to you over in Australia. I'm so jealous. Someday I want to get down there. It'd be so fun to do. Paul, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Nick, the mic. Nick, are you were in Kansas? Are you back? Are you home? Good morning, Nick. Good to see you here. Jane, Paul, our friend from Buffalo. Praise be to Jesus. Jack, good morning to you. Sharon Felton, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Where in the world is Sharon and your husband? Where are you guys today?
They just got home to New Hampshire. She just said that.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, I got invited to come speak in New Hampshire in January. I think if it all goes through, I got invited to speak in Ohio. That fell through, so not doing that now. But I got an invitation to go speak at a Legatus meeting in New Hampshire on January the 13th. So I'm very excited. I hope it goes through. I can't wait to go back to the Grand Estate. Praise be to God. But I'm still considering a men's retreat during Lent, hiking the mountains of New Hampshire. That's one of my, it'd be super cool because Father Bransich from Ask a Priest Live fame would come with, say masses, hear confessions, that kind of thing. So it'd be like a 3-night deal up on the ridges of the White Mountains. It would be pretty cool. Can I put it together? I don't know. I'm working on. I'm thinking about it anyway. Hopefully it does. PC, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being on the team today. Kevlar Catholic is back. Good morning. Says, please pray. A tough day at work coming up. Yeah, we are going to be praying. Can I also ask for prayers? I've got several friends that seem to be like their employment is at risk. So please keep them in your prayers. Man, it just, every time I talk to a friend who says, I don't know if I might get laid off or whatever because their company's going through difficult times. I just like, wow, I wish I had George Soros' money. Does it break your heart when your friend tells you about to lose their job? It does me. I wish I could step up and do something about that, but God's will be done in all things. Also, there was a gentleman by the name of Robert, a friend of mine from church. It's his cousin, and he doesn't have much time to live. Yesterday, I was told he had maybe 48 hours, and he was estranged from Holy Mother Church. Please keep Robert in your prayers. Maybe God will send him prevenient graces prior, and he can make a good confession. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Scrolling through here. Praise be to God. Just looking at some of these comments. Jack Burton tweeted too. That's a beautiful picture of you and Celine.
Thank you.
That's lovely.
Found a great Catholic photographer up there in sunny Ontario that day.
I love that. That's lovely. Praise be to Jesus. Hey, good morning to you, Craig. Tony Johnson, good morning to you. Says, I like that your show is providing the young podcasters some airtime.
Amen.
Yeah, praise God for it, too.
Maybe I'm biased.
Maybe you are biased. I don't know. Either that or you just hate old people. I'm not sure which. It's hard to tell.
Well, then you and Mike should still be fine then, right?
Look at him sucking up now.
What a nice compliment.
Ouch.
I'm just practicing for marriage. That's all.
Get off my lawn, you whippersnapper. P. Smith says, I've not gotten to strength to listen yet or read anything. I've only heard on this show. So when my sister asked me, I said that since I've not heard or read it yet, I have no input, but I follow Christ. Is that in reference to the upcoming apostolic exhortation?
Probably.
It sounds to me, Christian Wagner is saying it's going to be a nothing burger. That's what I heard today. It's going to be a church teaching, no big deal. I hope that's true. We're going to find out with Matt Gaspers on Thursday. He's going to review it as quickly as possible and be on the show bright and early.
Wow.
So that he can get some better insight into what's in it. So that's the plan for Thursday.
Well, Matt always has such great insights. Anyways, anytime Matt's on, you have to listen to him. That's just a rule.
Well, when he's on, I have to listen to him.
Yeah,
that's the way that works. Because
you do the show, but some of us can choose not to.
Like I can put him on and put my fingers in my ear. No, I'm not listening to you. Go ahead and keep talking, but I'm not listening.
I'm not talking to you, Joe. I'm talking to the audience. You got to listen to Matt Gaspers. He's a must listen.
The law. Alberto, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Mac is here. Good to see you here. The final countdown. What? By the way, did you guys see Hegseth lead 3,000 people doing push-ups for a Guinness World Record at the Navy Academy Stadium? I think it was.
Good for him.
They're celebrating 250 years of naval service. Speaking of which, my son, who's one of my sons, is discerning whether or not he wants to be he thinks he wants to be a firefighter. He really feels called to becoming a firefighter. But he used to say he wanted to be called to the Marine Corps, but I'm like, I'm not.
You talked him out of that.
Forget it. I said, you got to leave my house and do it all on your own if you're going to do that. I'm not signing you up for that. But so now he's looking at there's a fire program near us at a firehouse. It's a smaller firehouse, and they have a volunteer firefighter program that will take him through the training, get him certified, and all of that, and maybe lead to his career. We'll see. But we were visiting the place on Saturday because it was an open house. They just built this new station. It's beautiful. It's wonderful and all of that. So we were visiting it. But this giant oak tree, massive oak tree right in front of this firehouse. I'm like looking at this thing and I'm like, this thing is so massive. It had to be 200 years old. At least. It's so old. Massive, huge trunks. And I was just reminded, 250 years of the Navy, the first naval frigates, all made from live oak. They went down to to an island off of the Carolinas, and it was like I went through a book. I forget the name of the book, but I went through this book about how the U.S. Navy got started, and just the sheer expedition and the manpower needed to harvest these live oaks in order to mill them into frigates. and they were milled by I forget the guy's name, but he was like a Quaker. I think he was a Quaker, and there was like a lot of Quaker connections in the early Navy in the United States. Kind of an interesting story. But so yeah, oak trees. That's what made they made the USS Constitution, which is why they called it Old Ironsides, and cannonballs just like bounced off the sides from it because those oak trees are like amazing and awesome. Female KC Royals fan. Go ahead.
I wonder how much of Old Ironsides is actually original. Last time, and it's been a long time ago since I toured it, it was like 7% was all that was left of it.
No way.
It's all been replaced. Yeah.
You're breaking my heart right now. I toured it years ago, but I don't remember anybody telling me that it was only 7%.
Well, only a knucklehead like me would ask the question, how much is original to 17, whatever.
You're bursting my romantic bubble. What are you doing? You're ruining my life right now. I'm thinking that's the coolest ship ever, and you're telling me it's not original?
So we shared pier space with the minesweepers because we were smaller. Coast Guard ships tend to be much smaller than the average Navy ship. And those guys would talk about how and minesweepers were made out of wood back in those days. And they would talk about how they could take a screwdriver and stick it into the wood because of the water soaking through. So I don't suspect that wooden ships that stay in the water last forever. So probably
fair, but nonetheless, you could have left me to my romantic notions, without bursting that.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a voice of reason, truth, and reality.
It just happens that way.
I can't help what I am.
No charity.
Joe, just a clarification. Are we doing four corners bingo? I forgot
yes.
already. Okay. Yes, four corners, Judy. Did you get it? Let me know. If you got it, email it to us.
What?
By the way, you have seen all the trash talk, all the military trash talk going on in the insider group, right?
No, I haven't seen it yet. What is it? What are they saying?
Apparently James was unhappy with me talking about squids, but anyway.
the Seabees, the squids, the swabbies. I mean, I gotta love the Navy, man. Navy's fantastic.
I love them all.
Rides to wherever we want to go.
Yeah, well, I talked to Special Forces guys, and they told me they never come back and get us. It's all us the coasties who have to come get us. So.
My mom's dad was Navy. He served in World War II on the USS Palau.
I have nothing against any service, seriously, but the trash talk is.
But it's fun to talk trash. I mean, come on, man. That's part of the Benny package. And by the way, you get to talk trash. As long as you're not a civilian.
As long as you're not a civilian, in which case you just need to hush.
Oh man.
You have an opinion? When did you serve?
Yeah, that's right. The Chair Force. I liked that the Chairborne Ranger. That was a fun line from Hegseth as well. Whether or not you're an Airborne Ranger or a Chairborne Ranger. I'm like, oh man.
My favorite is if you want to have a beard, join the Special Forces.
Yes. Now we had guys in the Marine Corps who were able to go to a doctor and get a chit. We called them chits, like a note from the doctor.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's C-H-I-T, folks. C-H-I-T.
Chit. I said chit. What do you?
I'm just making sure they heard.
Stop talking chit and just get with the program. It was a chit, right? Like they would say that the face had issues and you had to let them grow beards. Like what? What are you talking about? Like what kind of get out of jail free card is this? Like I never liked that. I thought that was strange.
Well,
standard is what the standard is. You knew that going in the Marine Corps.
I agree. And the thing was, I always had a heart for the guys who joined the Navy and the Coast Guard when they did have beards. And then, of course, they got rid of them. And that had to be tough for those guys who had those shape bump issues. So,
yeah. Well, that's what the guys I'm thinking about, that's what they had. It was all like their face would break out all the time. It's kind of the opposite. My face was really not doing well, which is why I shaved. And it's feeling better now. But man, like my face felt like it was on fire there the last couple of months. No matter what I did to it, washed it, oiled it, didn't matter. It was always constantly itching. So I needed to give it a break. But and now I don't know when I'm going to grow it back. I'm still trying to decide that.
What has the boss of the beard decided? Has she said you may grow it back?
She's on the fence. It's like at first when she first saw it, she's like, "What have you done?" Now, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure where she stands on it now. Not sure. So we'll have to see.
Maybe she's getting used to the non-bearded Joe.
Maybe. I was sucking up over the weekend. Took her to get lobster. Man, I had such high hopes for lobster. I'm like thinking I haven't had lobster in a long time. Like, let's go get some lobster. And it was like wah wah wah. It was like tiny little thing. I'm like, come on, man.
Did you accidentally order crayfish?
No, we ordered the lobster tails, but it was like this wasn't like we got the surf and turf, so at least I had a good steak with it. But I mean, it wasn't bad. It was tasty, but just wasn't like it had it in my mind. My mind said, you're going to get a ginormous lobster from Maine. And it just didn't work out that way. You got to live in Maine to get the good stuff, I'm guessing. The Constitution is still a commissioned ship, right? Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Navy still services that ship, and they have. I've seen it. I've seen it under sail personally on the tall ships. Maybe what year was that? 2006, 2005,
Wasn't
2006.
that great? Yeah,
I love tall ships
took it out.
events.
Yeah, my dad and I went. It was fantastic.
We had one here in Buffalo, 2019. A bunch of lake-based tall ships came into port, so included the brig Niagara and a bunch of others. It was really, really cool. A lot of really neat ships coming in. Nothing Constitution-sized, obviously, but nothing frigate-sized. But
I'll further burst your bubble.
Here we go,
Joe.
Destroying people's lives.
Coast Guard Cutter Eagle, which is the big white tall ship that the Coast Guard runs, the training ship.
Is that three-masted?
It's made out of it's steel. It's a steel hull.
Three-masted? Is it a three-masted?
Yes, three-master with a steel hull. So it was a war prize. It was a horse vessel, and it was a war prize taken after World War II.
Really? Wow.
But yes, it's a steel hull. It's not wood.
Got it.
So.
Yeah. It's a total fake. It's a fraud. Understood.
It's funny when you're saying when you're talking about the Constitution. I was as soon as you mentioned how much of it is intact, I started thinking of the ship of Theseus. You know how much of it is still the original. You know, when does it stop being the Constitution if it's all got replaced?
At what point? Well, don't they say that?
That's what happens. That's what happens with those sailing ships all the time.
Isn't
back
it?
In history.
You can fact check me, but I thought it's like your body renews its every cell in your body renews its
7 years. Yeah.
So the Joe McClane before you now was actually not the Joe McClane in the Marine Corps in 1991.
Yep.
You know the really cool, and I know this is a huge segue, but let me roll with this. I never understood why Christ commanded us to eat his body until someone explained to me that, well, listen, but let me follow through. Okay. And this was during my Protestant days. Days. And I was struggling with this. And then I heard a Catholic priest say that everything we eat becomes a part of our body. And by continually engaging in the sacrament of communion, Christ then becomes a part of you and resides within your body. And so when I heard that, I said, oh, well, that makes just perfect sense, even from a scientific standpoint, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was fascinating. And honestly, I go back to that moment in time, and that was probably the beginning of my reversion to the church. So it was such a compelling argument. It was the same thing. You all remember the presidential candidate, Alan Keyes?
Sure. I've interviewed him.
He made a very compelling argument, Catholic argument, on the veracity of the death penalty and why the death penalty was actually a mercy. And when I heard it, I said, oh, well, that's a different idea, and I have to consider his thoughts. And so when you hear those arguments that just knock you back and you say, wait a minute, I'm always stunned by those. Mm-hmm. And so those two moments were times when I went, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong about this and I'll have to reconsider. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to bring that up because you talked about the body regeneration. So that's why we should have communion as often as we are worthy to receive it, which in my case is never, but the church says I have to do it once.
I was going to say that. I was going to mention.
I'm glad you brought it back to something Catholic, Mike, because when Joe started talking about how the Joe right now is not the same Joe that was in the Marine Corps, I was just going to make a Star Trek transporter reconstitution reference. So I'm glad you kept it Catholic.
You do realize what actually is happening with the Star Trek transporter technology, right?
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Yeah,
that you kill. Yes. It kills the person. That's the actual technology. I'm not even kidding about this.
Yep.
Like you create a copy, and then you transmit that data of the copy to the destination, and then it regenerates the person on the other end.
Yeah.
And then it kills the person on the original, on the launching off spot.
When you say that's what the technology does, that's what the fictional science fiction technology
the actual
does.
real world technology
documentary
is
technology.
Truth. It is. Don't fact check that. Don't stop typing. Okay, listen, it's true.
We're triggering sci-fi Mike here. He's going to chime in any second here.
Hey, Edward Clancy, good morning to you from Washington. Oh, no, they got to Edward. Dang it. They got him. Pray for Edward's
lost in the
He's
swamp.
in Washington, D.C. It's too late for him now. I don't know. I'll be praying for your family, Edward. Once you go to D.C., it's over. There's no coming back.
Well, he's going to be okay now that they have the National Guard patrolling the streets.
It's over. Isn't that over? Didn't they end that?
I think they've restored order.
I thought they brought that to an end already. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I haven't followed it. I haven't heard a word,
sure they
actually.
did.
Maybe
I'm sure they have
it's
by
been
now.
all quiet. It's been all quiet on the D.C. front, so that's interesting. Oh, speaking of which, this Portland, Oregon thing going crazy with Antifa and ICE and all this stuff, and all of these liberal mayors and politicians are complaining about federal troops in American cities. Didn't we?
First time in American history.
Didn't we fight a war over that? I mean, like...
Fight a war. Didn't they send in the troops in the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, it seems to me this was the complaint of the South during the 1860s. Like that they raised federal troops and then occupied the South with them. I mean, I wonder how all these liberals would feel if they had solidarity with I don't know, Jeff Davis or Robert E. Lee or any of these people. It's like maybe they need to rethink their arguments, because it's kind of they're making based arguments for states' rights. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I just think it's hilarious. But hey, good morning to you, Rosie 6046. James, good morning again. Praise be to God. Says, I wasn't unhappy with you, just good-natured ribbing. So, Mike, calm down. That's what James says. Stop freaking out. Calm down, you Popeye the Sailor Man. You coasty man. Coast Guard. I tell you what, the worst hash brown I have ever had in my life was at Coast Guard Station, Honolulu.
Why do you remember that?
Sorry to hear that.
Why do you remember
Worst
that?
in my entire life. I mean, I'm pretty sure that what they served us could also be used to scrub the barnacles off of the hull. I mean, it was like, what? Like, are you trying to kill me with this?
That must have been
I mean, what is going on?
Bad hash brown for you to remember that.
It was the worst hash brown of all hash brown.
To be fair, I have vivid memories of my high school lunches.
High school lunches
Michelle
awful.
Obama took the deep fryers out and ruined our school lunches. I was there, man.
You were there for that.
I was there for that, man.
You still have PTSD.
Yeah, no kidding. We used to have the best chicken finger subs in Western New York for school lunch.
We had a school here in my city, here in Newport News, that had such good food that teachers from other schools would go during their lunchtime and get lunch at this school.
That's what Joe's was like, man. It was great.
It was good food, and it is the historically black high school in Newport News. And when they basically all the kitchens throughout the city became microwave places, they took food from wherever and heated it up and put it out. But they destroyed a wonderful kitchen with ladies who've been cooking there for 40, 50 years. And that was so sad to see that happen. And that's just one of the many atrocities of that administration. So sorry, Jake, that you were hit with that.
Yeah, no, it's maybe not the highest priority of bad things that happened there, but it's among them.
Among them, yeah.
Well, it was. We know better than you do.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We fire a bunch of ladies who've been cooking for 40, 50 years for kids and did a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I'll never forget at my high school when the lunch lady jumped the counter and then handcuffed a dude. I was like, wait, what?
What?
like what is going on here?
These are Texas lunch ladies. They're a little different than your average.
I mean, our school, it was Judson High School was. I mean, obviously, I haven't been there in 87 years, but it's quite large. We had 2 campuses. We had a campus just for freshmen and sophomore, and then we had a second, the older campus, which was like, right next door. That was for juniors and seniors, and sometimes you had classes on both, and you took buses in between or walked or whatever. But we had a lot of crime because we had a lot of students, and so they'd have undercover cops on campus frequently. And so when I watched the lunch lady, get into the mix and pull out her Miami Vice cuffs out of nowhere, I'm like, this is blowing my mind, man. Oh man! When I graduated, in fact, they were already implementing clear see-through backpacks for everybody because they wanted to. Because we had guys get busted with guns and drugs. There were, unfortunately, there were cases of, and it's not even like we were out in the country. It wasn't an inner city school. I mean, I had 875 people graduate in my class. I think we started off with, probably twice that amount in freshmen and graduated 875. But so it had a lot of issues.
Was it a rural school or was it suburban?
Yeah, it's the suburbs there. The Randolph Air Force Base is right there. Converse, Texas. So it was definitely outside of the city, in the suburbs. Just a weird mix of a lot of things, I guess. But we had our fair share of all kinds of drama. Well, but man, we had a ritual, and that was on the last day of school. You would you'd bring your all your shaving cream, and we'd fill up water balloons filled with shaving cream or water or whatever, and you'd have people would bring entire like crates full of just stuff to throw, and you would just go crazy in the parking lot, just trashing the joint. It was just insane. Good grief. I don't miss any of that.
Well, the big misnomer is that inner city schools are the only awful schools in America. When you look at the data, rural schools that serve mostly poor white kids they have the same achievement problems that inner city schools do. So it's not a shocker to me. And if you think about things like the meth epidemic, that's not happening in the cities. That's happening out in the countryside. So
New Hampshire got crushed with the epidemic. A lot of their small towns, Franklin, and a lot of these small towns just devastated by the opioid crisis. Absolutely.
It's
bad.
So, we think of drugs as being an inner city problem, and that's just not the truth of
I was not
what's really going on.
Magnificat.
So
I was definitely not a bully. Absolutely not. I'm anti-bully. Robbie H1234 says, you guys used to pummel us in football, Madison High School. Of course we did. We were Judson. We pummeled everybody. I mean, our football program is probably bigger than the Dallas Cowboys. I mean,
that's not saying much.
It's Texas. Ouch. What was that about? Man, oh man.
I can't say much. I can't say anything. The
High
Bills
school
lost
football
yesterday.
in Texas is a religion.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
football down south in any level is like a religion, pretty much.
The stadiums are monstrous at high schools. Absolutely, millions and millions of dollars they pour into football and
the college stadiums down south hold more than like any NFL stadium does.
It's insane.
It's not just down south. Let's be fair. And I'm a Southern boy, and I love that we love football. But Ohio, Michigan.
Those are big too.
Michigan is 120,000 or 110,000 people in that stadium, and Ohio high school football is they're as rabid about it as Texans are, which I find fascinating because Ohioans and Texans just are natural born enemies, but they have the same rabid stance on football.
Right.
And so
it's such a big deal.
When you're putting 60,000 people in a stadium to watch a high school football game.
Yeah.
I used to work our football games. I used to volunteer to work the games. In ROTC, we would volunteer, and we got to go to the games for free, which was kind of cool. So I was often working either the stands, the concessions, or I prefer to do color guard. Because then you didn't have to do anything after, as soon as
you could watch the whole game.
You watch the whole game. And we also got to volunteer for Spurs games, too. So I got to do a ton of color guard at Spurs games back when the Admiral was playing and T.C. Cummins was playing and a bunch of these old Spurs guys that were amazing. Those were good days. Praise be to God. Alaric says, I graduated with around 40 students Small rural Catholic school, one building, grades 7 through 12. Wow. My experience was slightly different than that, Alaric. Slightly different. That's 40 students. That's like my grandfather. That's kind of like his experience was like that. The good old days. Patty, good morning. Junior Barr from West Texas. Angelique, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Good to see you guys here. Who's hunting already? It's October. It's bow season. I've got nowhere to hunt. My heart is breaking. I just put in for a bunch of tags. Like if I get drawn for a tag, then they'll let you go hunt in special places. But I've never been pulled and drawn for a tag. So
it's see. Moose season in Idaho.
So jealous.
So there is hunting going on right now as we speak.
I'm going to have to go back to the public land, Sam Houston National Forest. It's just going to be terrible. It's going to be me sitting in the woods quietly for 6 hours and never hunting or seeing anything.
Even during bow season, it's a little quieter and a little.
It's better. Even more quieter during bow season.
Yeah. Well,
and the thing about Sam Houston is it literally does. Like I would hunt with my bow in gun season too, because it literally doesn't matter there. Mm-hmm. You're only going to see 25 yards anyway. Mm-hmm. You can't see beyond that. If you climb a tree, get way up, then yeah, you can see it coming, but you probably won't get a great shot on an animal even further away because of all of the tree and the foliage. It's so thick. It's so nasty. It's Mirkwood there. So it's just really rough hunting. Really super hard. Magnificat says it is so dead in the Sam Houston. It is. It's like you sit there and you're like, it feels empty. It just feels empty. And you're like, where? Like if you're lucky, you find squirrels. And that's actually a part of the equation. You have to be Sherlock Holmes when you go out into the woods. You got to you put the clues together. Mm-hmm. If you don't have squirrels, you're probably sitting in the wrong place. You need to find squirrels. Squirrels know where acorns are. Acorns are what feeds the deer as well as foliage. So you got to find those or find a homestead near the public land that's got a feeder route because they're going to travel to that feeder. And maybe you can be in the hallway as they do it. You never know. What's a Chad, Jake? See how they're you see what they're doing here? You see what Mimi's up to? I know, Mimi, don't think I don't know what you're up to. I know what you're up to. You're playing some ACT bingo here, and you're trying to force the boxes to be checked off. I mean, just because Jake is skibbity doesn't mean he's going to fall for that one. Okay? What does actually skibbity mean, by the way?
No, it literally means nothing and anything.
Nothing. Oh, then I used it correctly.
Yes, okay. You did. You did.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
It's in the dictionary now. That word has been added to the Cambridge.
Cambridge?
I think it's been added to Cambridge. Yeah, Cambridge Dictionary.
You got to be kidding me.
Skibbity, tradwife. Yeah, it's in the Cambridge Dictionary. They added a bunch of new words a couple months ago.
What would John Henry Newman say about that? I'm wondering. No bueno.
About that?
Yeah.
About skibbity?
Yeah, being in the Cambridge Dictionary.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
How bad would it be if in the future, that was in the dictionary? I think that's what they'd be thinking right now. Hey, Nick the Mike, back in Houston, Iowa Colony was moved from Pearland March 20. What are you talking about? What?
I think that's where he was.
You were in Iowa Colony? James posted a picture of his Navy boot camp photo. Look at you. You look 12 years old, James 16897.
We all look 12 years old.
You look. What was that movie? That Schneider. What's his name? Was it Saved by the Bell guy? No, somebody else. It was some other actor who always looked 12, no matter what he did. He did a TV movie where it was based on a true story in World War II, where an underage kid conned his way into the Navy during the war. That's what you look like. You look 12 here. How old were you, James, when you went to boot camp? And where did you go to boot camp, actually? San Diego?
He went to San Diego, if I remember right. Yeah, he went to San Diego. And, it's we all looked 12 when we joined. Let's be honest.
No way.
We all did.
Oh,
we did.
I was a stylish, mature man for my age.
You did post your picture this past weekend on the Insider group. I stand by my words. You have not changed me. And by the way, I got carded on like my 40th birthday, so I was always a baby face. Yeah. So,
you know what's funny about I just reposted my Marine Corps pic. What's hilarious
you definitely
about
look 12. Nice
about that
draw,
picture. As I remember the day I took this picture, they make sure you get your hair cut first. So they take us to the barber, get our haircuts, and they take us to the photographer. The uniform is fake. It's a bib. They put the bib on you, throw the hat on, and take the picture. And next,
That's great.
Yeah, it's fake. The whole uniform is fake. You're not wearing it. It just I was like sort of burst the bubble there. Man, oh man.
The funny thing is we've got all these photos of people in the armed forces in like World War II, and they all look like they're 12 years old. And then you watch baseball from the 70s, and there's some like 22-year-old rookie, and he looks like he's about 47. He's got this mustache.
What explains that? What explains that? Like,
it's just such a weird mix.
Yeah, crazy.
So funny.
Man, oh man, it's so true.
It's
a lot of those dudes came back to the war looking very old and tired, though.
Yes, yeah,
because they were.
Yeah,
the war messed them up big time.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the leading causes for a lot of the problems that came after. Is just
James says those are real dress blues. I wore that uniform when I was in the Naval Sea Cadets. Man, I loved it because it had all the buttons. It had that huge flap on your pants in the front of your pants. You have this giant square like flap with all buttons that surround. I'm like, I thought that was like Popeye the Sailor Man stuff. I thought that was the coolest stuff ever.
13 buttons. 13 buttons. Yep. Everything has a meaning on the uniform. Everything. So,
Magnificat says like one of those painted cutout panels you stick in your head.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It was very disappointing. Ricky Schroeder, thank you, Colin. That's exactly who I'm thinking about. It was Ricky Schroeder. It was a made-for-TV movie where he played a young man who lied his way into the Navy to get into the war. And I forget the name of the movie now. But Ricky Schroeder. Who remembers Ricky Schroeder? Raise your hand.
I remember him.
What's the last thing he's done, Ricky Schroeder?
Well, he changed his name to Rick. I remember he was on NYPD Blue years and years ago.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Ricky Schroeder?
Yep.
Are you not confusing him with the guy who was on Saved by the Bell?
Fact check me, Jake. I'm going to stand by because I'm not going to go look for it. Rick Schroeder was on NYPD Blue. He replaced the redheaded guy. No, he replaced Jimmy Schmitz.
Huh.
NYPD Blue?
Really?
Thank you.
He was in Lonesome Dove.
What's he done lately was Joe's question.
Lonesome Dove. I forgot about that.
He hasn't done anything in film since 2010.
That's a long time, man.
And he hasn't done anything in TV since like 2016.
Even I have done more things in film since 2010 than he has.
I think he's retired or semi-retired.
I always think it's cool when I look up some actress and see that she stopped acting for like 20 years. You know exactly what she was doing during those 20 years, raising kids,
having a family,
which is
being
wonderful.
normal. Yeah.
He's pretty conservative. He's pretty conservative. He basically just hasn't really done anything. I think he's kind of he probably got blacklisted a little bit.
Well, that's what the guy who played Chachi in Happy Days said happened to him when he came out and supported Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Said he got blacklisted.
Yep. Yeah, Schroeder donated to Kyle Rittenhouse's bail.
Really?
He was on video.
Wild.
Going against mask mandate stuff. So
good for him.
Those guys take those stands. Ralph Macchio is another one who took a very conservative stand and paid a price until someone got interested in the Karate Kid again. Yeah, those things happen.
Edward, good morning again from sunny DC, says you have to get lobster in the northeastern USA near the ocean. As the restaurant in Booth Bay says, lobster from the pot to the pot.
Yep, from the pot to the pot.
Man, you guys got it made in the shade up there. Now we have blue crab down here. We actually have Caribbean lobster.
I like Caribbean lobster.
It's a different look than the red lobsters that you're used to that come out of the Atlantic, but we've got that. But we don't have the kind of crab, the kind of sea fish that you get out of the Atlantic. It's just different. Edward says Rick Schroeder came out as conservative and disappeared from the in list. Was he ever really on the in list? I think he was just. I don't think he was an A-list actor. B-list, I would say. But
he was a TV actor.
A-list. Yeah, made for TV.
It takes a lot to graduate from TV to film, even when you're really big on TV.
What do we think of Dwayne Johnson losing all of his muscles? Has anybody seen that?
No.
Yeah, he dropped a ton of weight because so the argument is he stopped taking steroids. He has come out publicly and said he never took steroids to begin with. A lot of people doubt that's true, but he said he never took steroids. He's saying he's dropped the weight because he's trying to get beyond his typecast and he wants to take on different roles. And so he's trying. And the same thing happened with what was the other actor's name that lost all of his muscles recently from? I forget that series of Marvel movies from the space, whatever.
Oh, are you talking about Chris Pratt?
Yeah, Chris Pratt's. What was this Chris Pratt
Guardians
space
of the Galaxy?
movie? Yeah, there was an actor, the big muscle guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
The guy who plays Drax or whatever. He's another wrestler.
Whatever his name
he's another.
He lost
fighter.
a lot of weight as well.
I'm blanking out his name. I'm gonna kick myself.
I don't remember either. That's how important.
Because he's been in a few things. He was in Doom.
Dave Bautista. Thank you,
Dave
Liz.
Bautista. Yep.
Thank you, Dave Bautista. A lot of people are also wondering whether or not Dwayne Johnson was sick. I don't know. He says no. He says he's fine. He just lost a ton of weight because he wants to act in different things, and he can't be a big bulky guy to do that. So I don't know. And has anybody seen his Smashing Machine movie yet? It's gotten a tremendous amount of positive reviews, but I've not watched it. I did watch the final Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning. Is that what it's called? I did watch that not VidAngel. I used ClearPlay. I think I used ClearPlay filters. That was at least watchable with filters. Praise be to God. But it was like a 2-hour goodbye. Right? It was like 2 hours of saying goodbye. It was kind of really emotional as far as that goes. I thought it was a little bit over the top. What about Tony Danza? He's not 70, is he?
Oh, I'll bet he is.
Good grief. What's going on? All my heroes are old. What's up with that?
We're 14 years away, less than 14 years away now from World War II being 100 years old.
That's crazy.
14 years, yeah, which is, it's over a decade, but still. Then World War will be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the beginning of World War II. That's pretty crazy.
14 years?
14 years. 1939.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. 2025, in less than 14 years, September, we'll be honoring the 100th anniversary of the start of World War II. That's kind of crazy to think about, even for me.
Yeah, I put some perspective on it.
I really, really chuckle about that. Only in that, when I was a kid, my high school teachers were World War II vets. Mm-hmm. They'd be in their 50s at that point. And I remember I used, and I don't think I've told this story on the show before. I used to deliver groceries for a little corner store in the neighborhood on my bike. And one of the women I would deliver groceries to was Mrs. Snyder. And Mrs. Snyder drove like this 1947 yellow Hudson, big giant Hudson car. And when I'm saying she's old, I don't mean like kid old, 50s old when you're a kid. She was old in her 70s or 80s. And I would bring her groceries. And the lady who owned the store I deliver for said, if she wants to talk, you sit there and you talk to her. She could use the company. And so I'd go in and she'd give me iced tea and we'd sit and chat. And then she started talking about her time in the war. And I'm like, oh, she was really old in the war, wasn't she? She was talking about World War I, gentlemen. She was a combat nurse in World War I.
Wow.
And she would talk about her boys, how she'd help save her boys. And then she pulled out the pictures, And you got to realize I was like 13 and she was stunningly beautiful in World War I.
Yeah, no
I was
kidding.
like, how do I compliment this lady about this without putting my foot deep in my mouth?
Yeah.
But yeah, she was a good Catholic lady who was a World War I combat nurse. And she was in her 20s. She wasn't a kid in World War I. So that's when I realized she had to be like 80 plus years old at that point, because this would have been the 70s.
Yeah.
So I was stunned.
incredible.
So women in combat is not new. It's just that women were nurses in combat back in those days, not fighting
The wax were
on the
dressed in
front line.
slacks.
You know,
Yeah,
I was thinking about this too over the weekend because I caught some Rambo clips, but from the last two movies that Sylvester Stallone did at Rambo, which I hated actually, these movies.
The only good one's the first one, in my opinion.
Which is interesting because he hated the first one.
I think that's a great movie.
He, in fact, he did. I should say it this way, because I was watching an interview where he was talking about this. I think he was talking about it with Joe Rogan, if I remember correctly. Sylvester Stallone said they filmed it and they wanted to buy the film and burn it. That's how bad he hated it. So he was trying. He and his business partner were trying to buy all of the film, the rights to it, so they can destroy it, and it never got out. He said the original script based on the book was like 2 hours. And he says there was an hour and a half of him just chasing people in the woods. And he was all of these pontificating lines where he's chewing out squirrels and, and owls and just whatever. And he's like, he finally got them to cut out all of this, this dialogue. And that's the movie we got. And which is the classic one.
And I think everybody
loves that one.
Yeah, that's what I read, is that it's not that he hated the final version, it's that he hated what they had made, and they got them to cut it out, and the film was a better film for that. He basically made the right decision, which is not surprising because he's a decent filmmaker.
But they had already filmed it all.
Yes, yeah.
And that's why he wanted to burn it.
Yes.
But they saved it, and nobody knew, and everybody loves that one. That's the one. Yeah. The last one they made of the cartels, and even the one before that, it's just all like the violence is way over the top, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's cartoon.
Way over the top. It's hard to watch, to be frank. Like, it's not even it's not digestible.
The first movie was about reforming the view of Vietnam veterans, and that's what I loved about that movie is that he's actually the hero, even though they made him a bad guy. And so as a guy who was raised by Vietnam veterans in the military, and I had a great deal of sympathy for it. So, but this is the end of the show. End of the after show. Who do you have tomorrow,
Dr.
Joe?
Janet Smith is on tomorrow. Bishop Strickland's here this week. Matt Gaspers and Joshua Charles. It's going to be a great week. Do us a favor and share us with a friend. God bless you. God love you. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning.